What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time, and you guys, today is a beautiful Thursday afternoon. I woke up, got out of bed, walked to the living room to get my morning cup of whatever kind of caffeine substance you care to describe that as, and I saw this outside of my back terrace doorway. It's snowing. Oh, the glorious snow, you guys. Look at this. I knew, last night, I knew that there was, a snow thing coming. I knew that there was, some kind of a weather alert or a warning or snowstorm. But I hadn't internalized it. I hadn't sat down and thought, oh, we're going to get a whole bunch more snow today. And it's such a surprise to me. It's a glorious surprise. I love the snow. I absolutely love the snow, you guys. I love cold weather. As Kim and I often like to say, I have lava blood. So, yeah, I love cold weather. I love the snow. It makes me so happy. And something else that makes me so incredibly happy is my guest on the show today. She's a very good friend of mine. We hang out together. We cosplay together. We go to San Diego Comic-Con together. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Natalie Kaz. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, Natalie. It appears that Skype is not working. Natalie, do me a favor. If you can still hear me, can you hang up on Skype and then call me right back? It's so annoying. Skype does this all the time, and it's so frustrating. You think it's working the way that it should be working, and inevitably, sometimes things happen that it doesn't work out the way that you want it to. Anyway, guys, as I said on the show yesterday, starting this upcoming Sunday, Kim and I will be taking a road trip down Route 66 for a week, for about 7 days. We're going to fly into Tulsa, and we're going to drive to Albuquerque, and then drive back to Tulsa. So we're going to do 2 legs on Route 66. So, yeah, if you guys have any ideas as to what we should do on Route 66, if you have any suggestions as to what kinds of content that we should be producing on Gotta Love Them Movies, please hit me up. Send me an email at gottalovethemovies@gmail.com. Again, that's gottalovethemovies@gmail.com. And I would love to hear what your suggestions are for some stuff that we should do, and maybe some content that we should produce. I think we have Natalie back.
Yeah,
I think she's back. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome Natalie Kaz. Woo,
Hi.
woo, woo.
Sorry, everyone, about those technical difficulties. What was really, I was just bewildered by your snow, and also all the great movie news we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about some pretty cool stuff today. I'm really looking forward to it. Natalie, I just plugged, I feel like I spent a lot of time plugging our Kim's and my upcoming road trip down Route 66. Have you ever driven Route 66?
Yes, it's actually one of my favorite trips ever. Yeah, I first did it when I was 8. Of course, I didn't really do much driving on that one, but yeah, we hit up all the spots from Texas, I want to say, all the way through Arizona. It's a really good time. I'm excited for you. Are you gonna go? Where are you ending up? Are you going near the Grand Canyon?
No, not this. That was our original thought. It's so much cheaper if we drop off the rental car at the same place that we pick it up. So we're going to fly into Tulsa, we're going to drive to Albuquerque, and then we're going to drive back to Tulsa. So we'll be somewhat close to the Grand Canyon, but we're not quite going to make it there. If we go to the Grand Canyon, we won't have, we'll be a little pressed for time, and we won't be able to spend the amount of time that we want. there and do all the things. So, yeah.
That's good because there are at least a few deaths a year of people falling into the Grand Canyon.
That's exactly what you want to hear before you go on
learned.
vacation.
Yeah,
exactly. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Well, the next time when we eventually do the Grand Canyon type thing. Anyway, guys, yeah, so if you have any suggestions as to what kind of content Kim and I should produce while we're on the road for Gotta Love Them Movies, if you have any like movie related things related to Route 66, hit me up. Send me an email at where's the email? I just had the email. I don't know where it went. Send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com and let me know what kinds of content we should be producing while we're on the road. All right, guys, if you haven't already done so, please head over to YouTube and type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a little red rectangle that says subscribe. Go ahead and click on that button. What clicking on that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. And with the more subscribers the channel gets, the more watched content the channel gets. So I very much appreciate your love and support there. Of course, if you have any other comments or questions, movie-related, that you want to talk about on the show, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. As long as it's family-friendly, we'll make your comment or question a main topic here on the show. And just give us more stuff to talk about, you know? Like, create that whole sense of community. That's what this whole thing's about. All right, guys, with all of that down and out of the way, now it's time to go and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
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 All right, you guys, as Natalie hinted earlier, we've got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about today. We don't have a lot of topics to talk about, but the topics that we do, I think is pretty cool. First and foremost, man, oh man, I feel like especially the gaming community, but also like the movie loving community, everybody knows that Mortal Kombat, like that there was a remake, another movie, I guess this is the third movie in the franchise or in the series or whatever. It's not connected, it's a standalone film. Everybody knows that there's a Mortal Kombat movie coming. Well, this morning, woof, boy oh boy, did we get a trailer. My goodness, did we ever get a trailer. Now, let me say, I'm not the biggest Mortal Kombat fan on the planet. I played the game. On the show yesterday, I talked about how when I played the game as a child, I played the Nintendo version, which was an edited version. If you played Mortal Kombat on Sega, you got the unedited version with all the blood and guts and gore and fatalities and bones being ripped out of people's bodies. You didn't get that on Nintendo. So when I played it on Nintendo, like the blood was green first and foremost, which was so confusing to me because like my friends were saying, no, the blood is red. And I'm like, clearly the blood is green. And I'm not colorblind. I know what I'm talking about, you guys. So I didn't understand or realize at the time there wasn't an edited version of the game. So and I'm not the biggest gamer on the planet anyway. So Mortal Kombat hasn't always been like the biggest thing for me. The two movies that they made before in the 90s were complete trash. They have a lot of love behind them, but let's be honest, they're complete trash. But today, you guys, wow. I was totally blown away by this trailer. It looks fun. It looks brutal. As this, the title of this article here in Variety points out, there's plenty of blood, guts, and fatalities. It looks intense. This just looks like everything that you want a Mortal Kombat movie to look and feel like. I'm like I couldn't stop saying to Natalie, you're in the texting group, the cosplay group, the Con Air group. I kept texting Con Air and I was like, I kept using so much profanity. Holy blank, holy blank, holy blank. Like this is the coolest effing thing ever. I was totally blown away. I did not expect much from this trailer, but it totally won me over. Natalie, what was your knee-jerk reaction to this? And what kind of, do you think the movie's going to live up to the holy blank moments of the trailer?
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. First of all, my reaction was the same as yours when I saw it. But also there was that tinge of fear where I'm like, I'm really afraid to put any stock in any Warner Brother movies in general. Like there's already always that
Yeah.
level of like,
Yeah.
this is gonna suck. But definitely video game movies. Video game movies, I mean, I think everyone knows,
They're
are just
cursed.
the
They're
worst.
cursed.
I can't think of a single one that's been executed
I will
the way it's
challenge
supposed
that.
to be.
Is not great of a movie as Sonic the Hedgehog was. Sonic wasn't a complete letdown. It was decent. It wasn't great. It was okay. Pokemon, the detective movie, also, it wasn't fantastic. It was okay. And then I also contend Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, the reboot with Alicia Vikander. That was actually kind of a fun, decent movie. I enjoyed that. Those are the three.
You know, that makes me feel better because it feels like maybe I don't know, maybe some of these Hollywood execs have actually read the reviews of their previous attempts at movies. And I think that they're giving us a little bit more substance. That's kind of what I felt, surprisingly, when I watched this trailer. I was surprised at how much story that they put in it, and they kind of treated it with a level of respect that, I'm sure longtime fans of the game appreciate. But also, they gave you the good stuff. They gave you the goods, the violence, the in-game names when Sub-Zero says, "I am Sub-Zero," and then he does the "get over here." I think that's crazy.
Man. And like, again, like I say, I'm not the biggest Mortal Kombat fan on the planet, but when everybody takes sides between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, I was always a Scorpion fan. Like, yeah. I will give the trailer.
Wait, is it Scorpion that says "get over here"? I'm with you. I played the games. Of course, I always played either Johnny Cage or Sonya. That was the only characters that I would ever play. And I think what's great about the Mortal Kombat games is they're great entry level games. Like you don't have to be invested in the story. You have to maybe remember for fatalities, right?
Yep.
And also, even if you're not good at that, you just have to press C over and over and over again and like punch somebody until they die. And your opponent is like, really? How lazy?
Yeah, that moment in the trailer when Sub-Zero and Scorpion are like battling, and Sub-Zero stabs Scorpion, and the blood like shoots out of his back. Sub-Zero freezes his blood in midair, grabs it like a knife, and then stabs Scorpion with his own blood. Like,
yeah.
What?
That might have been like the coolest thing I've seen this year. I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty freaking awesome.
Insane. Whoever thought of that is a genius.
I know. I love
like it's like what
I mean, right? Because okay, so ice powers are not that new in media.
No.
Obviously, like, the X-Men movies, there's one. Even later on in the show Heroes, they, come up with what I feel like ice powers is one of the go-to powers.
Yeah.
Frozen, that's right. Oh man, I hope someone makes a mashup of Frozen footage and puts it in the trailer. How amazing would that be?
Anna and Elsa have like a knockdown drag out fight where Anna is like wielding some kind of like scorpion like chain mail kind of thing. Man, like, can you imagine that?
I'd pay for that. Yeah, someone drop Disney a hint, or like any ambitious fan video editor out there that wants to put that together.
I just want to see that scene recreated with Anna and Elsa. Like, don't do anything else. Just do that.
Just do that.
Oh, man. But, one
amazing.
of the big questions that's been raised online, and also, Natalie, within our own texting cosplay group, where is Johnny Cage? Johnny Cage is one of the main characters of Mortal Kombat, and everybody's been asking, like, hang on a second, you've got Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Sonya, Raiden, the dude with the forearms, I can't think of his name.
Liu Kang, Jax.
Yeah, they're all there, but with one major exception, Johnny Cage. Now, the main character of this movie, it seems that his name is Cole Young, so it's being kind of theorized that Cole Young is going to end up being Johnny Cage, which, if that's true, I smell Star Trek Into Darkness so hard right now.
Yeah.
It's just that like
I mean, like it in the sense that I would be okay with that, because I'm pretty sure like all the previous media associated with Mortal Kombat, Johnny Cage is like the star. It's that's the character that you always fought other people to be. So when you had to be that same character, it was always weird. Johnny Cage versus Johnny Cage. So I could kind of see them trying to take like a different method, but also story structure isn't leading up to this giant reveal that Cole is Johnny Cage, because oh come on, it's a little like Captain Marvel's reveal that she's actually not Kree. Like come on.
well, I mean, yeah, I think that's the thing that we all kind of like smell this red herring coming, unless like if Cole. Because, like, as you talk about, part of the gameplay is that you have to play certain characters and you have to win certain fights in order to unlock Johnny Cage, right? So there may be a story element that, by fighting this person and fighting that person, maybe Cole Young will unlock. Like, maybe Johnny Cage is literally caged. Maybe he's like held up prisoner somewhere and he has like
Whoa.
Cole Young is just because I mean that kind of introducing a brand new character into this lore, into this mythos, into this game, right? That kind of insinuates to me at least a little bit the player aspect, because you have the person behind the controller controlling the characters who could be Cole Young. Not that he's going to be controlling other people, but if he himself has to fight all these other characters in order to unlock Johnny Cage, that could be a really interesting story element there.
Yeah, that is a great theory. That's awesome. Super exciting.
Anyway,
Yeah.
guys,
I'm excited to really go with it.
big question for you is, what do you think of the Mortal Kombat trailer? It came out this morning. It blew everyone away. It didn't blow everyone away. I've seen a couple of negative things online. The lack of Johnny Cage kind of being the most prominent out there. But, I loved it. It totally got me ramped up. I was not hyped for this movie at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought, yeah, maybe I'll go see it, or like maybe I'll watch it on HBO Max. Now I am specifically going to make a trip to New Jersey, providing if the theaters in New York aren't open right now. I'm going to drive to New Jersey, or like get a whatever. I'm going to hire an Uber. We're going to go to Jersey. We're going to see this thing properly in theaters. I'm stoked for it. I'm so excited. What do you think of it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, you guys. Next up on the not so much the movie news train, but the TV news train. A few months ago on this show, like for a while now, we've been talking a lot about Addams Family, and it's kind of coming back into like the cultural relevance a little bit. People are talking about Addams Family more. We've got Addams Family 2, the animated movie, coming out for later this year. Of course, the voice cast is already there. They already have the stories and the animatics and whatever, right? Addams Family on Broadway starring Nathan Lane was the thing maybe like 10 years ago. So Addams Family has been in the cultural zeitgeist for a while, and it's kind of rides into the surface a little bit again. And I myself, even on this show, have said we need a live action Addams Family reboot. I want to see another movie. I want to see more live action Addams Family stuff. Like, we live in a cultural day and age now where through the eyes of the Addams Family, I think there's some really interesting things that could be said in a really fun way. Well, apparently, we've all kind of willed this into happening. Tim Burton has just been hired to direct a live action television series on Netflix starring Wednesday. It's not going to be a straight Addams Family show, but rather it's going to be a spin-off show starring Wednesday Addams during her time in kind of like not border school, but high school. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like a private school. Addams. This sounds so fun. This sounds so interesting to me. This is kind of everything of what I've wanted. Now, let's jump into the article for a second by Deadline. They say it's official. Netflix has landed Tim Burton's live-action Addams Family series with an 8-episode order for a spin-off focused on the iconic character of Wednesday Addams. Titled Wednesday, the coming-of-age comedy written by Smallville creators Al Gough and Miles Miller will be directed by Tim Burton is a sleuthing, supernatural-infused mystery charting Wednesday Addams' years as a student at Nevermore Academy. That's where she attempts to master her emerging psychic ability, thwart a monstrous killing spree that has terrorized the local town, and solve a supernatural mystery that embroiled her parents 25 years ago, all while navigating her new and very tangled relationships. So that's the official synopsis that we have from Deadline about the new show on Netflix. I like this. This combo is just perfect. And I say that with an asterisk. I can't imagine a more perfect pairing here for a live-action Addams Family spin-off series with Tim Burton. However, I think it's pretty fair to say that Tim Burton in the past decade, if not more, hasn't really delivered.
Yeah, he's had swings and misses for sure.
He's had a lot of
especially
misses.
Here. Yeah. We actually had this really pretty good conversation with a friend of mine about Tim Burton and kind of comparing him to other directors that are known for having a style and, how fans eventually have that backlash. But, I feel like Tim Burton definitely he definitely deserves a little criticism here. But kind of what about this series, I'm also super excited about it. I love the Addams Family mythos. I love the movies with Angelica Houston back in the day and Christina Ricci. They were so iconic. And also, I think possibly I thought at the time when they came out, when I was that age, I thought it was the funniest movie ever. Especially Addams Family Values. But that being said, what kind of excites me about this project is that Al Gough and Miles Millar are taking over. It seems as if they're going to actually operate in the showrunner capacity, and I'm almost certain that Tim Burton, just has his name attached to this, almost going to be more like a Nightmare Before Christmas scenario, where it's not, it's going to be Tim Burton's Wednesday, right? But hopefully he doesn't take a lot of the creative control away from people that are used to making coming-of-age stories, like Gough and Millar's Smallville.
No, it was actually quite good.
Introduction.
Yeah.
Arguably, right? I would say it's probably the best take on Superman in the last 30 years. Because at the same time, Superman Returns was made as a piece of crap, and then...
okay, well, I will defend Superman Returns. It's of all the live action Superman movies that have ever been made, it is my favorite. Now, was it perfect? No. There's a massive gaping hole at the end where, how in the world could Superman lift an entire continent made of kryptonite? That's okay, I get that.
Yeah.
And how do you have a Superman movie without an epic battle? I understand that. But I love the movie. I love the story of the movie, and I love Brandon Routh's portrayal of the character in that film. I understand the criticisms of the film, as you were.
I am a Routh fan. I will say that. He was a pretty good Superman, but I feel like in terms of introducing Superman to a different audience, which is something that kind of needs to happen, and I believe with the Addams Family here, that's kind of what they're doing here, is they're trying to breathe a little bit more life into this, mythos that's only right now occupied as a kid's movie. Addams Family doesn't have to be that. No. I hope some of the, quirky elements of how, the entire thing is, but I really love that it's going to be kind of like a supernatural. I think that's super
one
exciting.
of the Netflix shows that's really popular, it's losing its popularity, but it was really popular when it first came out, was The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
I I thought of that exactly.
I loved The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It was so dark, and it was almost, I mean, if you want to use the word evil, I think that would be appropriate to describe that show, because there were elements of it that were truly evil, in not like a evil kind of way, but like in a devilish kind of way. Which, you know, lends itself to the dark material. The problem ultimately that I had with The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is because she is the titular character. She is the chosen one, right? Narratively speaking, every decision she ever made within the series means that it's the correct decision just because she's the titular character. Not because that's what the show itself needed, but just because, hey, she's the chosen one, so every decision that she ever makes is going to be the right decision. And that's not how life plays out. And it's so frustrating and annoying when, like, episode after episode after episode after episode, you have this young, bratty kid know all the correct answers despite, like, decades and decades of adults' experience. You know, oh, well, I've done it this way. And I'm not saying that, like, that tradition lends itself to being correct or right. It doesn't. But there's, like, those little stupid things. Like, there was there was a side story of one of Sabrina's best friends from human high school as opposed to witchcraft high school, who turns out to be trans. I thought that was a really cool storyline, but when that character starts telling other people, you can't mistreat me, like you should respect me for who I am. Yes, that's a great message, but the way that character went about being put out because, you know, they're now out as trans and people aren't respecting that and they're all put out like, well, you can't. That's not how the world works. That's not how people's genuine, true reactions are. So you may be telling a story very specific to. I'm sorry, I went off on a complete, total tangent about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. What I mean to say is that, like, I really hope that this series doesn't follow in. I hope it carries the tone and, like, the maybe even devilish nature, like the dark nature of Sabrina, but kind of let itself tell the story that it needs to tell, as opposed to saying, this is what's the term that I'm looking for? Stop telling a woke perspective and tell the story that it needs to tell.
Yeah, so to kind of bounce off of that with Wednesday, what I think the biggest opportunity there, and I think it kind of ties into the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and the way they're reintroducing the character of Sabrina to this other, you know, engaged audience, is that, you know, here is a girl that you could identify with. Like that's kind of the premise of it, is like you identify a little bit more with this character and the coming of age tale that they're telling. Same thing with, you know, Clark Kent and Smallville, like the way they kind of made a character identify. And I think with Wednesday, what I hope is that the quirky girl, you know, everybody that's in high school right now, or everybody that was in high school, you know, middle school, and you just feel like, oh man, in anywhere. I feel like has always been like a great symbol, especially when Christina Ricci played her, of like, no, that's more like me. I'm not the blonde girl at the summer camp. No, that's more like me. I'm the one who, you know, I'm a little offbeat. So I hope that Netflix that and also really leans in to the fact that here's a really iconic, culturally important female character who's the lead of a series.
I agree. I think there's so many wonderful possibilities that we can go with here. So much unexplored territory and things that we can say in kind of like an important, when I say we, I mean like the filmmakers, obviously, that they can say in a very important and poignant way about the world that we currently live in and like where it's going and why these things are important. And let's shed some light on on some of the on like cultural and societal problems and issues, but like in a fun, weird, interesting way. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking forward to. But the question is for you guys, what do you expect from this television series directed by Tim Burton? Are you looking forward to it? Are you not looking forward to it? What kinds of things do you want to see them put in the show? What's the kind of tone that you want to see? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know those thoughts. All right, guys. Our next bit of movie news today is something that it just comes as like a nice, light, warm-hearted surprise. It's something that we've been wanting for a while, and now it's official. You guys, we're getting a Paddington 3 movie.
Breath of fresh air.
Breath of fresh air indeed. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen the original Paddington films, Paddington 1 and 2, they're not revolutionary movies. Do you remember when Downton Abbey came out and everyone was just like raving about Downton Abbey? And then we started watching Downton Abbey, and the first couple episodes were like, well, yeah, this is good. It's not like... It doesn't reinvent the wheel. It's just a really well-told story, and it's beautiful, and there's nothing cynical about it. And, like, that's Paddington. Paddington 1, Paddington 2. Paddington goes off on his adventures, and he just, you know, like, he has something interesting to say about, like, standing up against, like, the big dogs or whatever, against... I guess, like, I don't know, again, I'm lost for words, but it's
The Paddington Man. We'll just call it the Paddington Man.
Yeah.
Paddington.
Stand up against the Paddington Man, you know? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
push against the system a little bit. Like, let's question things. But, like I said, in a non-cynical, just heartwarming, charming kind of way. So, I mean, like, we've all been wanting a third Paddington movie, and now it's official. It's been greenlit. Like, they're working on the film now. In this particular article, I know as I garble my words. Let's see, let's jump down here. Paddington 3, new entry in the beloved movie series, is in active development, representatives from Studio Canal told Variety. We can confirm Studio Canal is working very hard on the third film with the utmost craft and care, as with films 1 and 2. I mean, like, there's just, this is not revolutionary news. This is not reinventing the wheel. This is just a really sweet, charming, heartwarming series of films, and I'm just very much looking forward to the third one. I've never met a person who has had a negative thing to say about these movies. Natalie?
I think, yeah, well, I mean, I have not seen 1 and 2, and I was kind of refreshed by the story, but what always surprised me is it's one of those movies that I feel like was going to either be, you know, kind of, it's a thing with movies that are geared towards children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
on the surface, on the surface.
Exactly, on the surface. And it's interesting to see how filmmaking has evolved over the last 20 years to make movies for children, not just for children. Like, they actually get a chance to tell an important, impactful story to adults as well, and in a way that children can really kind of conceive and understand. And I think that's it's interesting that Paddington, like, their Rotten Tomato score is like over 85%. Like, these are really well made, well received movies. And yeah, I'm kind of excited about the way that you know, the storytelling possibility that you have with another one, especially with everything going on.
Think, like, that's one of the charming things about these films, like the first one and the second one, is that here's this very unassuming bear. Like, yes, they recognize that it's a walking, talking bear, but also that's not the focus of the story. The focus of the story is, here's this waddling little bear that just walks around London, and he finds himself in these kind of silly, ridiculous scenarios. But out of these ridiculous, silly scenarios, real change and real commentary comes from it. And we get to learn these life lessons. Like, as you say, like on the surface, these are seemingly children's movies. And yeah, to a certain extent they are. But I would argue in the same way that Toy Story are, those are children's movies. Like Pixar in general, children's movies. Yeah, they're geared towards like a family-based audience, but there's something grander and bigger that it's actually saying, a point that it's making. And I like that, you know, after the second movie, because the second movie came out in what, 2000, somebody correct me, 2017, I want to say. So it's been, what, 4 years since we've had a Paddington film, or maybe at least 3 years, depending on when it came out.
Time has no meaning, so it's fine.
Know, right?
It's fine.
We're living in the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Twilight Zone Quarantine Edition. But yeah, I mean, to see that they waited until, at least this is my perception. This is what I think. They didn't crank out a third movie because of the success of Paddington 1 and 2. They cranked out a third movie because they had something to say, because they had an interesting idea and possibly a fun and interesting story to tell, something that's provocative.
Yeah, I didn't actually know this about, you know, like, let's get into the Paddington verse, the Paddington myth of the creation of Paddington. I didn't know this, but I mean, you know, was very much a part of the Paddington author's original intent. In a way, Paddington was inspired by his view of Jewish refugee children coming into London. I think the story was like he was at a train station and he saw these children and they had cards tied to them. That kind of told people who they like, their name and anything about them, but they're basically refugees. And you think about it, Paddington is a refugee coming from what, dark Peru, like, and with everything that's going on in England right now, because I do want to say that, you know, the filmmakers are still structuring it, I think, towards particularly recent British developments in the treatment of refugees and things like that. I think that there's some interesting potential there for some really
you know, like you say, there's just so, and I didn't even realize that. I didn't know that there was that same type of social commentary behind it, and even that in and of itself evokes a lot of visual storytelling, but also like the importance of like comparing it to the X-Men in the Marvel universe. Like X-Men were created as a response to the to the civil rights issues going on in the 1960s, and now has taken on a completely different allegory in and of itself, which is to say social acceptance for you know, gay rights and you know, the LGBTQ community, and just saying like everyone has worth, just because they may not look or sound or act in a way that you want them to. Like we're all the same. We're all equal. There's all something beautiful and intrinsically valuable about who we are as human beings. And to hear that same type of allegory played through, or like a tangential allegory told through the eyes of Paddington, I think is a completely beautiful thing.
Definitely.
Question for you guys is what do you think of a Paddington 3 movie coming? Are you excited for it? Is it something that you're just not interested at all in? I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know those thoughts. All right, guys, our last topic of the day. I mean, like, hey, MCU, man, we know what's coming. We know what's happening. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is going to come hot off the heels off of the events of WandaVision. We've known this for a while. We know Elizabeth Olsen is in London right now filming the sequel. Whether she's still there or not, who knows? I imagine she's still there, which indicates to me she's going to be playing a huge part in this movie. And another person who is going to be playing a huge role in this movie is maybe not one that you would expect, but that's Danny Elfman. That's right, Danny Elfman is coming back to reprise his role as composer of the musical score throughout the film. Now, this is Danny Elfman's second outing in the MCU. His first time in the MCU was with Avengers Age of Ultron, so I had to grasp it off the tip of my tongue. He and Brian Tyler collaborated and they joined forces for Avengers Age of Ultron, which was an interesting collaboration. I mean, I loved that score. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Of course, Age of Ultron is my favorite of the 4 Avengers films that we have currently. Who knows? In 3 years, that may change. That may all change. But like currently, Age of Ultron is my personal top pick for my favorite Avengers movie. But before that, we've seen Danny Elfman do the scores for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. Now, Natalie, you told me a very interesting fact about the relationship between Sam Raimi and Danny Elfman that I was not hitherto informed of. Do tell.
Well, so it's kind of funny. Like, you and I are probably the only, like, I want to say, of our friend group that we know, we're like movie score nerds. And I know that they're out there, but like, I know that, we're not alone. Our tribe is out there and they get really score nerds. Like, I was a fan of Michael Giacchino and his rise to becoming one of the most prominent composers.
Let me just pause you right there for a second. Every single time somebody invokes his name, it's always a different pronunciation.
I wanted to say Giacchino for a really, really long time. My friend who plays for the Houston Opera, he always corrects me, so I'm only going by his. Yeah, he's like, it's Giacchino, but it's probably like, I don't know, I'm probably butchering it now.
Giacchino, Cicchino is another way that I've heard it.
I vote that we change his name to Michael G.
Perfect.
So Michael G.
Perfect.
Michael G's score is so exciting. He started on Lost.
Yeah.
Like, that was like his thing, and now he's like everywhere. But yeah, to get back to the Sam Raimi, Danny Elfman, or Danny Raimi, arguably. They definitely crafted what we think of as Spider-Man, at least in a cinematic universe, back in the, early 2000s, 2002. Back in the day, that was Spider-Man. It wasn't everybody's Spider-Man. It was definitely an era of Spider-Man. But Danny Elfman's music is still iconically associated with Spider-Man. And they had a really good relationship. And that's why he came back to do Spider-Man 2. I think his Doc Ock theme is freaking on point. Beautiful. Like, I love that music. However, it was sometime in the filming of Spider-Man 2, or in the post-production when they're actually doing the composing, where Danny Elfman and Sam Raimi broke up. They had a huge falling out. I remember reading an article about it from Time, and I think the idea, like, it was some pretty harsh words being said.
Well, I just looked it up here in IndieWire, and I'm not going to be able to pull it up on screen right now, but from what IndieWire says, and I'm reading this for the first time, so apologies if it's going to sound a little long-winded, but IndieWire says, after the superhero sequel, meaning Spider-Man 2, things went very sour with Elfman telling Chud, the magazine, back in 2005, an interview that seems to have stuck in their archives, that Spider-Man 2 was a miserable experience. Quote, "It's like my connection with Sam got completely severed. As far as I'm concerned, he went to sleep. Somebody put a pod next to him, and when he awoke, he wasn't the same person I'd known for a decade. He went from right there, number 2 on my list of favorite directors, to the exact opposite of what I look for in a film experience. Everything I could do on Spider-Man 1, I couldn't do on Spider-Man 2. He got so intensely attached to the music that I couldn't even adapt my own music close enough. It's the first time I've ever walked from a director in 20 years. I'd rather go back to waiting tables than to do Spider-Man 2 again, to have that same experience. Burn." So those were the words.
Tables.
Yeah.
So, I mean, since then, obviously, because Raimi and Danny Elfman are teamed up for this movie, apparently they, came together, and I think they worked together on the Oz
They
movie, if
did,
I remember
2011, yeah.
correctly. Yeah, so I mean, at least they met up. That's great.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
But
Well, I mean, this is also not the
I thought-
first time that Danny Elfman's had a falling out with the director. Like his longtime collaborator, Tim Burton, they had a hardcore falling out, and it wasn't for years until they reconnected. I'm sure somebody in the comment section could probably direct me on which film it was that they had a huge falling out, but it was big. I dare say it was bigger than this one.
Yeah. What was exciting though is, Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, the score, like even the score albums were widely, where people actually bought soundtracks for movies, but Spider-Man 3, it was actually a real bummer for me. 3, the score was never actually released because Danny Elfman had started, I think, the process on writing Spider-Man 3 when he, dropped out completely. And they had a younger composer, Christopher Young, come in and finish the score. So actually, he's the one who's credited as the composer for Spider-Man 3. I also feel like there are certain themes in Spider-Man 3 that are probably the most beautiful I've heard put to a movie, particularly some of the Sandman stuff. I just, for what? I wonder what the delineation was. That always made me curious.
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes me want to go back and watch some of those commentaries, like the live commentary over the movie. And, I don't know if any of that stuff is ever going to see the light of day. Like, a lot of this stuff, a lot of that drama that we hear about, like, oh, there was a breaking down of a friendship. There's this weird thing in Hollywood where, like, sometimes you want to be true to thine own self, be true, but you also don't want to burn bridges. And it's when you start talking smack on other people's projects, on like Hugh Jackman had a really great answer to everyone's reaction of X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, we all know X-Men Origins Wolverine was a complete garbage movie. It's a complete garbage movie. Throw it in the trash, whatever. And Hugh Jackman acknowledges it. He realizes this. But in an interview, this speaks to the classiness that is Hugh Jackman. One of the interviews asked him point blank about, like, what happened? Why did this movie just turn out to suck? And I'm totally going to paraphrase here, but Hugh Jackman's response essentially was, like, nobody sets out to make a bad movie. We all do the best work that we can. And at the time, like, the script looked great. We thought we were making something really, really wonderful. And it's no one person's fault, To say that the movie is garbage, is trash, is unfair to the filmmakers, to everyone who poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this movie. Did it turn out to be a great movie? Maybe not, but that's not what we intended to do. Sometimes, like, the people's best intentions just fall apart without the fault of any one person. Now, sometimes, yes, movies do fall apart from one person's bad decision making or whatever. And a lot of times we like to point blame at directors, but sometimes it's the actors' involvement. Sometimes it's the producers' involvement in some of these movies and projects, and sometimes it's just everyone. Sometimes there's no one finger to point at anyone, and sometimes things just don't turn out the way that we want. And so I thought that was a really classy response from Hugh Jackman. And yeah, sometimes things just don't work out. So I would love to hear a lot of those behind the scenes conversations as to, like, why did this relationship fall apart? And, like, how did you get back together?
Yeah. I mean, there is a thing called privacy, but I'm actually painfully interested in this story, which is, I think, the only people on earth that are, like, up for, like, oh yes, composer drama. I'm so excited. Give me more of that.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think it's fair to say that maybe John Williams is possibly the greatest film composer of all time. Some people would agree with that. Some people would disagree with that. My other personal favorites include Thomas Newman. Like, Thomas Newman, man, ranks high on the list. Of course, Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer. Even going back in time a little bit to Bernard Herrmann is one of my favorites.
My boy Michael G.
Michael Giacchino,
Oh,
Cicchino.
Alan Silvestri, though.
Alan Silvestri.
Alan Silvestri. Oh,
Man, like Back to the Future. Everybody always thinks that John Williams did the score to Back to the Future. Nay, I say. That was an Alan
Nay.
Silvestri score.
exactly.
What do you think? What you talk about? Anyway, guys. Say what?
And I was like, yeah, he always gets the credit for that. But Alan Silvestri is like that underdog composer. I Infinity War and Endgame, I think he
Man.
did both of those.
And the first
score
Avengers.
in Infinity War, the movie. Like, I feel like, I mean, having people fade away to nothing, that's all sad. But the music, Thanos' theme,
Man.
all of that. So I'm excited to see composer like Danny Elfman take a swing at Doctor Strange, which feels very much, like it's up his alley. Obviously, they're going for more horror-esque. In the sequel, they're going for something a little bit more campy horror, which, that is Sam Raimi's bread
Let
and
me
butter.
ask you this. All right, so in the first Doctor Strange, written and directed by Scott Derrickson. Scott Derrickson is a huge horror guy. I'm not going to say he's more horror than Sam Raimi, but he's more hardcore than Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi now coming in to take the reins of the second Doctor Strange movie. Before the first film came out, there were all these promises, even from Kevin Feige, saying that
My boy Kevin
F. I know, like Feige. How do you say his name? So Kevin Feige was making all these promises saying that, like, how dark and scary Doctor Strange was going to be. And it's not. Again, like all these promises of like, oh, it's going to be such a mind-bendy movie. The visuals were mind-bendy, but the concept, the story of the movie was not mind-bendy at all.
I wonder how much the editing process and how much the studio, because I very much like it's possible that Derrickson 100% intended and was hired to really lean into the horror aspect of it. But once they actually, started screening the cut within the studio, I mean, we were just talking about how down the line things start to break down. That would definitely be a time where they just cut back the horror. Like they cut, changed the music, changed, the tension, like kind of diffuse some of the energy. Because they also, again, were like, hey, this is Doctor Strange. This is still the MCU. It's still kind of like phase 2, phase 3 MCU, where like things are, starting to move in a direction dark, but it was still, let's reel it in. This is still for kids.
So
we
my question
to
for you
toys.
is, Natalie, how much of a horror film, because again, Kevin Feige has been playing up the horror aspect of it. Oh, we're getting Sam Raimi in, classic horror director. We're getting, now it's Danny Elfman. Ooh, classic, like not horror, but like weird music composer. Do you think this is going to be more of a horror film, more of a scary? I definitely think it's going to be darker in tone, but I call BS. I call BS when they say that this is going to be a horror movie. This is going to have like some scary elements to it. What do you think?
Well, my thought on that is when you go back and watch the original Spider-Man, and there's Giacchino getting stuck in my throat right now.
Okay?
Sorry.
Got a little Giacchino stuck there.
The shots that Sam Raimi put together in Spider-Man are very reminiscent of horror film. You see it again in Spider-Man 2. The whole Doc Ock scene is basically a B-movie horror thing. So I think that there's a way they can do that. They just have to get the right.
I would like to point out in the comment section, Natalie, your husband just commented, "Bring back Dormammu."
God. Hey, he might be out there.
Who knows? He might be.
There.
I do like that they're bringing back Mordo, so hopefully we're going to get more of that story of there's too many sorcerers. I would very much like to see that story play out further. Anyway, guys, big question for you is, what do you think of Danny Elfman joining the crew of, maybe not the cast, but the crew of Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness. I find this incredibly exciting. I love Danny Elfman. I love his music. I love his tone that he brings and his stylings. But I also understand it's maybe not for everyone. So what do you think of it? Jump on down the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. We've reached that portion of the show where it is time to take your live questions. Some of you have been firing in live questions all show long, and now it's time to address those in our segment that we call Live Questions.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys. Some of you have been firing in live questions all show long. So let's jump in here. Natalie, why is your window so small? How's that? Nope. Same thing. How's that? There we go. Now we're on the same page. Cool. So
Equality.
Say what?
Equality.
There it is. I agree. BJ Lang. Oh, improviser BJ from LA. How you doing, BJ? Long time no see. He's so he tags 2 different friends of his in this particular post, and he says, "My buddy," referring to me, "is going to cruise Route 66." Yep, sure am. Looking forward to it. So Leadin' Lee and West Ames. I guess if you guys have any suggestions for me as to what kind of content my fiance and I should produce on the road, please let us know. BJ goes on to say,
You should do like a top 10 on one of the episodes of like road trip movies.
That'd be a great idea. One of the ideas that I had that might be kind of fun is stopping and interviewing like all the locals and asking them, like, what's your favorite movie? That could be kind of fun, and just
that's a good idea.
Eclectically kind of see what we get.
Yeah. Well, it's also a well-known fact that we're Thelma and Louise. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. If only we could get a cameo of them in Mortal Kombat.
No, that would be wonderful.
Fatality.
Make sure you're holding hands.
BJ Lang goes on to say, Mike Brown content suggestion, a random photo every 66 miles on Route 66. That could be really cool. That could be really interesting. A random photo every 66 miles on Route 66. Man, the vigilance that would take to make sure that we do that every 66 miles.
It's going to be a lot of the same thing.
Because like if we're driving at a constant stage of 60 miles an hour, that's one photo a minute. Like every minute I'm going to be taking another photo.
Yeah. Well, here's the magic about, so a lot of Route 66, especially when you get into the New Mexico portions, some of those roads are not maintained. Like they run alongside the interstate by maybe just like 15 or 20 feet. You can see them, but they're not maintained at all. And sometimes you need a little like going on and going off, like it sort of intersects with,
there's one stretch of 66, and I don't know if it's in Arizona or New Mexico. I want to say it's in New Mexico, that it's just a dirt road. It's still a legit dirt road, and I'm so looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, it's really, and especially some of the views that I see are just really amazing. But also, it's this weird like little snapshot into Americana, but back in the day, and kind of like how that's changed, how it's evolved, how it's like struggling to survive. Dude, I really love the movie Cars, which is a love letter to Route 66.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that because a few weeks ago, like when I was starting to do all this research of like Route 66 and where should we go and where do we stop and all that stuff, I started like, because I saw Cars a long time ago. And I was like, I always like to, crap on those movies and be like, man, they're the worst of all the Pixar movies.
No, Cars is great.
Like I sat down and I was like, you know what? I kind of have a hankering to watch these movies again. And I started with the first one and I totally fell in love with it. The second movie is like a James Bond thriller that takes the franchise in a very different direction. Okay, it was fine for what it was, but it's not like a car. It is a Cars movie, but it's also not a Cars movie, right? And then the third movie kind of brings it back to the feeling of Cars and Radiator Springs and what it means to be a racer and all that stuff. Those are some really charming movies. Those are really charming.
I agree.
I really like that.
Yeah.
BJ Lang goes on to say, Sega was rad. Yes, it was. I remember when I was I like 10 or 11? I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. And I told everybody, I'm going to save my allowance. I'm going to save up for a Sega Genesis. At the time, a Sega Genesis was $100. I remember that so clearly. It was $100 for the Sega Genesis, which came with, I think it was like Sonic the Hedgehog, or maybe at the time Sonic 2 was like the big game. So I was going to get the Sega Genesis with Sonic 2 that comes with the game. I was so excited. And then I think it was for Christmas. My parents were like, hey, he's really been trying to save his money. He's very serious about this. He really wants one. So for Christmas, I got a Sega. I was over the moon. Oh, man, I was over the moon.
I had a Sega Genesis. That was my first video game console of any kind. And I was only allowed to have 3 different games. Kombat was not one of them. One of them was, I think the most violent one was Jurassic Park.
I had Jurassic Park, but it was Raptor Rampage. It wasn't the original Jurassic Park Sega game. It was like the spin-off sequel game, Raptor Rampage. Did you ever play that?
No, I didn't. And with Jurassic Park, I don't think I could ever get past, there was this one part that I never finished the game, obviously, but like a T-Rex head would burst through the wall and eat my little Alan Grant character. And it scared me so much because that was like one of my top nightmares as a child, was giant T-Rex head bursting through the wall to eat me suddenly. So like, I just didn't have, I guess, to play that game.
So there were 2 games on Sega that were like my jam. One was Raptor's Rampage, like the Jurassic Park Raptor Rampage, where you could either play as Alan Grant, and like the whole idea was that you were like stuck in like whatever level you were playing, you were trapped in this room or a ship or whatever, and you had to get out before the raptors ate you. Or if you played as a raptor, like you could play as Alan Grant or a raptor. If you played as a raptor, your mission was to find Alan Grant and eat him.
That was the game I played. I just realized that was the game, because I was a raptor and I couldn't succeed at either.
The other game that was totally my jam was Tasmania, starring like the Tasmanian devil. Man, like it took me forever, months, but I finally beat the game. And the whole idea is that like I think you're like trying to find these eggs or something like that. And there's like 17 levels and there's no save point. You have to play from the beginning to the end without dying. And it took me forever. I finally did it.
Why would they do that? That sounds terrible.
It was so frustrating.
My jam was Lion King, for sure. That was a fun game. But it's always like the licensed games that, like that is a traditional thing, except for Spider-Man 2, the game. But, you never know what's going to happen. Could be good or bad.
Oh.
Could.
All right, and our final comment of the day, as we aforementioned, is from Ryan Kaczorowski, your beautiful doting husband, Natalie, where he says, bring back Dormammu. What are the chances, do you think, of Dormammu showing up in Doctor Strange 2?
I don't think he's coming in Doctor Strange 2. Or maybe. I don't know. I heard an interesting WandaVision theory that was like, one of the Halloween episode, like little pumpkin scary things that are inflatable. It looks like a version of Dormammu in the comics. So I did hear that. I also feel like I had a little Dormammu stuck in my throat. So maybe that's another thing.
Oh, there's a lot of things you have stuck in your throat today, apparently.
I got the Dormammu.
Well, you can tell the lodging in there that you've come to bargain and see if it decides to unlodge itself.
Just like most disease, right? Isn't going to be that perpetual. Like you're always, I was just healthy. Now I'm sick again. Oh no, now I have another cold.
I've come to chew.
Achoo.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna see Dormammu in the next movie. I think like
Sorry,
because
Brian.
like there was a narrative purpose for him to show up, but he wasn't like the main focus of the movie. Like he was just kind of like a side thing. Like, okay, well, like, yeah, we have to figure out a clever way to defeat Dormammu or to like get rid of Dormammu, but like really it was Mads Mikkelsen's character who was like, he was the villain of the movie. So that was really, yeah. So I don't know. It would probably seem a little kitschy if they were to bring Dormammu back. I mean, maybe we might see him. He might like pop up, but I don't think he's going to be a main part of the movie at all.
No, I don't think so. I think anyone that is holding stock and seeing Dormammu again is a silly person and needs to stop calling for his return.
Shots have been fired.
Shots
have been fired, Ryan. Oh! Anyway, guys, so that will do it for our episode today of Gotta Love Them Movies. Huge special thank you to Natalie Kaz for jumping in. Natalie, where can people find you online? What special projects do you have coming up in the future?
Yeah, I definitely want to point people to Fassy's Instagram channel. That is my short comedy skit channel that I'm working on with friends of mine, and we're putting out funny short content every once in a while. And also, it's an interactive thing. So if you are a content creator and you want to collaborate, you want to be a part of a sketch idea, yeah, reach out at Video Fasties on Instagram.
And all of those links are going to be found down in the comment section below. So definitely check those out. Natalie, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for being part of the conversation, giving us something fun and interesting to talk about.
Absolutely. And I'm always down to share more Grand Canyon facts if anyone wants to hear
Don't
later.
die at the Grand Canyon. Just don't do it.
Don't die. Don't selfie it and die.
Anyway, guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is what Ryan Kaczorowski and Dormammu would want you to do. All right, guys. My name is Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. We live in a weird, crazy world where everyone has their own different thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world, please take that opportunity. If you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, again, please take those opportunities. And as always, in the words of Bill and Ted, I'll see you guys. Wait, what? I'm skipping over it. My brain's going somewhere else. In the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.